Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My fellow Toastmasters, the Christmas masquerade is upon them. The mayor had declared they were going to have the most fabulous masquerade imaginable. He was going to pay for everything. All the children would gather around, have these wonderful costumes, and those that couldn't afford it would send him the bill. The town was ecstatic. There were signs all over the place for 3 months. That's how long it would take to plan this size masquerade. The costumers were trying to prepare for all these wonderful children. They just couldn't measure up until one day, on a very busy street corner, a masquerade customer set up shop. Children went in, and they saw this little man, about the size of a 10-year-old. His cheeks were rosy red. He had a white wig with curls that went down his back. His jacket and coattails were rusty red, and he had big yellow buttons, and the lace went all the way past his knuckles. His shoes, beautiful, with buckles, 7 to 9 minutes. Great. This is great. Right, I'm 7 minutes.
You don't put that on 7 minutes.
7 minutes. His buckles were beautiful, with costume jewelry, big crystals. The children were enamored. The poor children, the chimney sweeps, the goose tenders, they wanted to be fairies and princesses. And the princesses wanted to be everyday children. They wanted to be the goose tenders and the chimney sweeps. And this customer could handle all the orders. And it was amazing. The day of the masquerade came. And the children came in and they looked upon the mayor's mansion and they were astounded. There were colored wax candles everywhere. And the chandeliers of crystal and gold were sparkling throughout the room. Everyone was having a great time as the fiddlers were fiddling. The mayor's youngest daughter came as a goose tender. And you wouldn't have even known that this was the mayor's daughter because this tall girl suddenly was slouched over. And her usually luxurious brown hair was kind of naughty, and it looked like she actually became a goose tender. And the little children who were fairies were dancing, and their feet were barely touching the ground as their gossamer wings were floating behind them. The room was abuzz with activity. Little Bo Peep had bright red eyes that were red from crying. She'd lost her shoes. And Red Riding Hood, she was constantly looking over her shoulder, looking for that big bad wolf. The parents were having a wonderful time, and the food was amazing. The cakes were layered upon layer and layer with icing of all different colors. And each child had a present on their plate. It was an amazing night, but at 4 o'clock, the fiddlers went home, and the children had to go back to their lives. They were so excited as they left, and everybody was wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. Children went home, and the parents tried to undress them for bed. And suddenly a very strange thing happened. As they unbuttoned a button here and there, the buttons just started buttoning back up. They would untie the ribbons, and the ribbons would tie themselves back up. The parents didn't know what to do. And after an hour or 2 of trying to do this, and the kids whining, they finally let the children go to bed and said, we'll take care of this in the morning. At midnight, the fairies woke up and started dancing outside in the garden. The parents were beside themselves. The next morning, they couldn't take the costumes off. The entire town met. What do we do? How do we get our children back? Because the goose tenders weren't there. The parents had to start doing all of the work. They came up with some ideas. Give the children castor oil. It'll slip them out of their clothes. Don't give them dinner. Then they'll get out of those clothes, or maybe we spank them. Nothing worked. Months went by. The parents were distraught because their children were bears. Until one day, the mayor's oldest daughter, Violet, who had witnessed everything but hadn't attended in the masquerade action, was beside herself because her younger sister was a goose tender. And she would get up at the crack of dawn and go out and tend goose. Peace. The Cherry Man came to the door. She liked the Cherry Man. He was handsome and nice, and he only came around in the spring to sell his basket of cherries. She caught him up on all of the activities that had been happening in the town. He was astonished. Really? How could this happen? Who was the customer? She described the little man with the white wig. And you know what? The Cherry Man knew the little man. He said, I know this little man. He lives in my cherry tree. Violetta couldn't believe this. She went running to her father, the mayor, and the mayor got all the aldermen together. And they said, the Cherry Man just told us that the customer lives in the tree. Let's go get him so he can turn our children back. So the mayor and all the aldermen went to the cherry tree. And there, at the very top, was the customer eating cherries and throwing the pits down. They said to him, you changed our children, and we want them back. He said, yes, I did. And the aldermen tried to climb up the tree, and as they put their foot on the first branch, they were kicked back. They went and they got a ladder, and as they put the ladder up and started climbing up, they fell completely backwards. They even tried to chop down the tree. But the tree was like iron, and it reverberated right through the axeman. Finally, they turned to the customer and said, you admit what you've done. What do you want from us? And the customer said, I want two things. You had a wonderful party, and this was one of the best ideas I have ever seen in all of my travels. And I want you to continue this. I want it put into your city archives that every year you will put up a stocking for the poor children, and they will be guaranteed a present when they wake up on Christmas Day. And the alderman and the mayor said, absolutely, we will do it. The second thing I want is Violetta, the mayor's oldest daughter, to marry the Cherry Man. He has been very good to me, letting me live in his tree. And she has been very nice. The mayor said, absolutely not, we are not going to do that. And the aldermen looked at him, and they all said, we want our children back. So eventually, the mayor had to agree. And the customer said, go home, your children will be back to the way you once had them. 2 months later, Violetta married her Cherry Man. The wedding was amazing. There were flower petals everywhere. Matter of fact, the petals were so thick, you couldn't even find her feet as she walked through. The customer gave her a beautiful present. Silver entwined with roses and cherries. Silverware platter, beautiful platter of cherries. And 2 white rows had cherry vines going down the side. Nobody could find the customer again. However, the town learned an amazing lesson that day. Cherish what you have. You don't need to be someone else. Mr.